be like.
I don't know. Ooh, I'm sleepy.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. That's a very red coat.
Uh-huh.
Merry Christmas there, young lady.
Again, twice in 1 week. Hey. Good morning.
Appreciation breakfast, lots of people there coming,
Oh,
all that stuff, so that was
Okay,
well.
good.
Rita was there
you
too.
sent a copy
Rita
of
was
that
there
Raptalis
to 6:30.
presentation.
Oh, it's because they had food.
What, right now?
Not right now, but later. The one-
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
What they did last week.
You sure? You got it. You want the slide deck? You want the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, I mean, it's very helpful.
We'll do.
It's got a lot of good, useful information.
I'll send it to you.
I'm sick of the survey.
You have a presentation recommendation for Raptalis. We have,
Exactly.
we agreed on,
I'll see them when the meeting starts, yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the last Spalding County Water and Sewage Facilities Authority meeting, regular meeting, December 18th of 2024 for the year.
Yay!
If y'all would, Jeff Brandon's gonna lead the invocation today, and Cal Oxford is gonna lead us in the pledge right afterwards.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, and we thank you for the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Lord, we thank you for bringing this group here safely today to conduct the business of the Spalding County Water Authority, and we ask for your guidance in the decisions that we make here today on behalf of the ratepayers and our community. Lord, we ask that your hand be on those of this group and their families who are battling illnesses, Lord, and that you give them comfort, strength, and healing. Lord, we ask these many things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Make sure. I'm always afraid somebody's gonna slide out for something.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
All here.
Jim Skinner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was moving papers, was I supposed to be looking at?
8-0. Do we have any citizens signed up to speak? Okay, we're gonna skip the citizen comment section altogether. Moving on to minutes, consider approval of the November 20th, 2024 regular scheduled meeting minutes.
I wasn't there, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Davis and a second by Ms. Flowers. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? 8-0. Item 2, consider acceptance of the December 11th, 2024 joint committee meeting minutes and executive session minutes.
Make a motion to, oh, I'm sorry. Make a
Motion to
motion to,
approve, Mr. Chairman.
and I make a second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Eight zero. Moving on to general manager's report.
So through the customer summary report through November shows a customer count 15,598, which is a roughly 1.25% year-over-year change. Water sales is strong. I will say that the budgeted amount that we estimated in November, we were about 100,000 gallons shy on our estimate, but overall we're roughly 38 million gallons to the good for the year so far. Meter sales is still lagging. Historical precedents to the tune of 30 meters, but our revenue is still on trend to meet our budget. Non-revenue water, I want to highlight everybody's attention that we just received October, November summaries, and some of the major spikes that you see are due to the water line break at 6 in the Rehoboth that happened in October, where half the coke tank was drained. And then in November, it was the high manganese and iron. It was water flushing activities that the city was doing because they had, it kind of looked like tea.
Yes, it did.
It was awful. So that was for our customers as well. I know it was looking like that in the city,
Correct.
but it affected
Yes,
our customers.
absolutely, yeah. They flushed almost 3 million gallons of water out of our system.
It's still turning brown sometimes.
That's right. That's right. Fire hydrant summary, we have not, since we completed them in July, we won't start that back until March or April of next year.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess it was at our commission meeting the other night, there was some conversation in general about I want to say maybe western part of the county not having enough fire hydrants. I'm confused.
So
'Cause how come we don't?
I was shocked as well, but remember, fire hydrants are not a water authority.
I get
Asset?
it.
And what happens is the only thing that, when that comment was made, the only thing that I could keep going back to is the western part of Spalding County is real rural and you have a lot of farmland. Well, after talking with the former fire marshal, Harold,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
he always said that if a development was coming in and needed a water line extension, if there weren't any houses, they weren't going to require fire hydrants. Well, I was like, well, that's a problem if now you're expecting the water authority to come in and actually infill. So that was one of the reasons, the precedents that they were using back in the day. That has since changed, but I'm not aware of not a lot of fire hydrants supporting that area.
So then my concern about that is I recognize that all we do is install and that it's the fire department. But how do we transition that conversation in the context that it was in the meeting to, okay, this is not really a water authority thing, but if there is a need, this is what y'all need to do to bring yourself up. Because I mean, I don't think that is what they do is go out and say, okay, we need to put fire hydrants here. They've kind of depended on us to set where they need to go. So I think, do we recommend to them that we can give them a plan to, exceed what they're doing now? Because I think it's kind of, 10 years ago, it might have made sense. But now when you can't tell where development is going to pop up, I think it's not a good business model for us to look and say, we'll put something there when if it's water.
So one thing that I want the board to recognize is we serve roughly 91% of the parcels inside Spalding County, which is really good reach. One thing that one thing that is not, or is already assumed in that comment that was made on the western part of Spalding County is we don't have water on every road. That's the problem. So one thing that you remember when the Hardy Lane and Moore development came in, and we talked about if we could get paid back for that water line extension within a 5-year period, the water authority would entertain the opportunity to do a joint project with the developer. Maybe what we could do is have a policy where if anybody is requesting water on the road, they come in and they put their name in the book, but we don't serve every road, and that's the problem. So unless water is on every road inside Spalding County, I guess that statement is true, where there's not an adequate number of fire hydrants in the western part of the county.
I was under the impression there was a map. I remember I think it wasn't a water authority thing, it was a water commission. There
Someone
was a
mapped
map.
for us, I want to say Paragon, where all of the hydrants were
So
in the county.
We filled in the last of the gaps
So that's
And-
why
and
I'm
mid-
confused.
and made and that was when we was done. We filled in the gaps and we was done with it. We turned it over to county. That's the impression I was under.
No.
I thought this had been addressed.
No.
So
So-
I didn't mean to start a whole thing about this, but I think because it insinuated that we hadn't done something.
Well, we also had a conversation in depth with the fire department about this whole subject
We
a few
did.
years ago.
And I mean,
And-
they're
and
supposed
we're
to give
in
the
a-
money for hydrants,
Right.
but I'm just
So
saying.
where is
So-
I guess do they not have a trigger or a way to know
I
where
don't
they
think
need
so.
them or what is?
Because the statement was just kind of made blankly that, like, it came out like, well, the water authority doesn't have enough hydrants on the west side. I think something in terms of like a fire was being fought or
Well, it
something,
was
and there was
the-
enough pressure.
It was the
It
size
was-
of the fire truck.
The size of the fire truck at Blaylock, it has to be a tanker because they have to fill it up in order to fight
Yeah.
fire. Yep. So we have an accurate depiction of every fire hydrant and where every water line is. And one thing that our GIS department's gonna do in the first quarter of next year is they've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and we wanna show you the fruits of their labor. But it will give you a clear depiction of where where we have assets. But when it comes to infilling fire hydrants, if the board wishes for me to help the Spalding County Fire Department facilitate that, we can do that. But the last discussion that we had revolved around the county was using $250,000 of our money every year to infill hydrants. When we brought it to their attention that was not a requirement of our permit, we've kind of been taking the approach of, hey, if you need information from us, we will gladly help you, but nobody's asked the question.
I think what Gwen says is we're not doing anything wrong, it's a perception.
Mhm.
And we
Right.
need somehow to overcome this perception at a meeting that,
Maybe the planning committee can talk about this in depth, because I think if the expectation is that a recommendation maybe can come from us to the fire department saying, you know, this is what the west side looks like. In order to increase your ability to serve, you need
and we could pass,
you need water lines on all of these streets.
we could pass something to them, then that shows
Right,
we're
and
doing.
then, yeah, because we've said what it is that we have in place, but if this is a problem for the county, we have the information to share with you so you can be directed on how to fix it.
I agree, and I think the planning committee would be happy to discuss that.
Does this need to come from them though, as a request for assistance versus us just going to them?
I think we need to just step forward because
Yeah, because we almost got thrown under
we're
the
sort of
bus. We
being,
weren't
yes,
paying
we're sort of being
attention.
slandered for no reason.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
basically, we got thrown under the bus, and we just was kinda like,
It wouldn't
huh?
hurt us to
Yeah,
take a
let's-
look
let's
at
go
what
ahead
we
and
have
stop
on the
it.
west
Yeah.
side, the map.
I think, so the next planning committee, I think y'all are gonna be blown away with how fast our GIS department has, spun up, and just the amount of data that we have access to at our fingertips. It's amazing. We're doing the right things.
Good.
We're doing the right things.
So at some point, the planning committee will talk about it.
I
We
agree.
can,
Sorry,
we're
didn't mean to
ready,
go down a rabbit hole.
we're ready to talk about that in January.
Yeah, I think you're right on.
Moving to the projects, the only major updates that I'll say is regarding the AKB sewer project, we had a fruitful conversation with the prospective developer that is looking at helping us fund this. We've kind of taken a step back, looked at this project from a different set of eyes in order to see if we can value engineer and get any more cost savings. Our team has done a good job, and we've actually, it's counterintuitive, but in order to save money, you have to actually increase the size. So the size is a little bit bigger. It goes from 100,000 gallons a day to 200,000 gallons a day. We had a call on Monday of this week, and the design documents, the easement acquisition, the property acquisition for the lift station, everything is still on track, and we should have a full set of design documents, I would say sometime February or March.
Okay, my question on all that is, you have a developer here that says, I want part of this. Do we have a number to charge? We haven't done a
Well-
capital recovery fee or a study or anything. Are you just gonna say,
We do, we are actually working on that with Raftellus now that we have,
Okay,
well, we're close to finalized numbers, we're not there yet. Originally, this plant came in at 100,000 gallons, $20 million. I think we're at 200,000 gallons, roughly
That's
$16 million now.
is that astounding?
We
How's that work?
we cut some like boilers out going across 16, stuff like that. We have some number commitments, verbal commitments from a developer. We have already passed along a public-private partnership document to him, and we're waiting for their comments back to see if that's gonna work. Since that time, we have discovered that our, cash to debt ratio is a lot better than we thought it was. And we could conceivably bond the project, we could do a GFA loan and get some debt forgiveness, or we could pay cash for this and then just take checks from the developers for the capacity. So that is something we have to start talking about in January.
Okay.
Because the approach we were taking originally, no debt, we didn't want to bond anything, we thought we was in worse shape than we actually were. We were basically giving up some control of this by partnering with somebody, and we may not necessarily have to do that now.
Okay.
So
I
that's
like-
a decision for the
Like
board.
Brent, I didn't mean to go down this.
Well, that's a
rabbit hole.
decision the board needs to, I've already asked him to work on it and the different avenues that we could do this, and everybody get to pick the most attractive option.
You answered my question, thank you.
But yeah, we did double the size of the plant and knock $4 million off of it.
Joseph, what's the daily inflow required for a 200,000 gallon?
That's where I'm having heartburn. So, the developer and the engineers, one thing in the conversation, I told them that they can't lose sight of the day one flow. The reason why we used 100,000 gallons a day is because you keep hearing me use the word turn down. It's how low can you go with the flow day one? Well, it was 12,500. 100,000 gallons, 200,000 gallons a day. The lowest flow you can do right out of the box is 37,000. Well, we have to put a bulkhead in that it will get us down to 17. Just to put it in perspective, the lakes at Green Valley, all the customers, the 5 or 6 buildings that are out there, use roughly 2,000 gallons a day of water. Spalding County and the IDA are not attracting large water users. So that is my fear. And if the developer comes in and say we can work out a public-private partnership deal, if we're putting some skin in the game, he's going to have some skin in the game as well, where if he cannot facilitate the flow day one that we need, you know what? If we're not going to make permit, he's going to have to pay some of the fines or violations, because that is one of my concerns.
Flush some toilets or something.
We
So,
may be faced with a situation of feeding dog food as in the past.
Well, honestly, we may be feeding dog food and
That's gonna be gray water, not lumpy water.
getting water trucked in order to keep the basins full. Yeah, that's my fear. So,
Back end could be very expensive.
in
I can't hear you, Cal.
The back end could be very expensive
Yes.
on this project.
Okay, thank you.
Joseph, is that something we need to look at, because Spalding County is in the Atlanta non-attainment zone? I know that the industry that we have now is not heavy water laden. When we had Cooper Standard that did rubber extrusion and some of the other plants that use lots and lots of water, but because we were put into the non-attainment zone, no dirty industry can come into this community that projects stuff. So I think we're gonna be on track that that the industry that's gonna come here is not gonna be very heavy water users. So, I mean, it's a real thing.
so the only way I can see us overcoming this threshold, the day one flow, is we have to take more than just industry and commercial day one. I don't know if you're gonna put in 2 million square feet and it's gonna be warehouse space. That warehouse could be satisfied with a septic system. It could.
So we're talking about potentially residential.
There's gonna have to be something. So whether it's East Griffin, that CDBG that comes in, it's we're working with P&K at Southampton or South McDonough in 16, trying to get them because their first building, they need roughly 8,000 gallons a day. Their next phase, they're going to need roughly 3 times that, so 24,000 gallons a day. That would be great. So we're working on a stopgap measure with the city for possibly conveying sewer to them over a short amount of time and then diverting it back to us when we get the infrastructure in place. But day one flow, it's going to be an uphill battle. And we want to keep the project moving. We want to have a shovel-ready project in the event the funding or the board decides to act. I'm going to keep reiterating, we have to be very mindful of the flows day one, because if we turn on this plant and we test it, once you flip it on, you can't turn it off.
So it might be to our advantage to encourage this developer to go to the city for a while, build up his use, and then
Well,
come back to us.
that's P&K. So the High Falls Industrial, kind of in the middle between the Lakes of Green Valley and where our plant's going to be, there's no opportunity there because the infrastructure to get to the city would.
I understand.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So.
Any more questions regarding that? I don't want to scare anybody. I think the project is still on track and we're going to have a good design. I'm just a little leery of how we're going to actually support it when we need to go.
Before we agree with this particular development on the partnership, we need to understand what happens if we don't meet that daily flow. That needs to be
Well,
part,
we'll have that information once they finish, give us the final design
that needs
documents,
to be
everything.
part of the decision.
Yeah,
That's right.
everything right now is, I mean, it's pretty close. I would think the numbers are pretty close to being dialed in and everything, but we don't have the final tabulations of anything yet. Cause we went back and we tried to get the price down. That's where the double in the capacity came in at, which, that affected other things. But,
And
You
another,
mentioned you eliminated the bore. Was that to increase the size of the water line on
no,
the
that
north
was a
side?
bore under 16 to get across 16 the other side.
Right, you
That
eliminated
was kinda
that.
getting outside the original scope.
so what we're doing is so remember you had 2 lines. You had a line that went the Cabin Creek, from Wani to down Cabin Creek to Highway 16. That was line A. And then we had from Wani up Cabin Creek to Bailey Jester was line B. We removed line B because that wasn't necessary day one. We're going to have all this infrastructure designed so in the event that a developer comes in and is ready to do the Bailey Jester side, here you go. We have a design ready to go. You go build it.
That's how much line B is gonna cost you.
Yeah, line B was roughly 1.8 million bucks. So another thing that is kind of up until this point, we've been so worried about value engineering, getting the cost down. The contractor has kind of taken some liberty on his own to extract some things out of the project, i.e. solids management. And we're really I really have them taking a hard look on this because if anybody remembers what the city went through years ago with their sludge management before they spent millions of dollars on this dryer to basically get water consolidated to a more solids base, Centigro couldn't support them, and they were doing millions of gallons a year. We're not going to be doing that much solid, so that's another topic of discussion that that $16 million, that's a ballpark number. We really haven't finalized the design yet, and that's what I'm hoping we can do in the month of January.
That does not include any solids handling?
No, it's basically we just take it out of the tank and we land apply it. Here's my problem. Who is going to support our water authority when it's not going to be I think the estimate, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was less than a couple of tons a year. That's not a whole lot of solids.
Did you
Because
use the property we bought on Hedge Creek as a spray field?
no, what would happen is they're saying we're going to take it to a landfill. Well, here's the problem with the landfill.
This isn't sprayable.
Not
You-
sprayable.
No, this is what's left over. It's gotta go somewhere.
So that, we still have some tweaks to make, but the project is progressing, and I think the finance committee and the planning committee, we should have something to kick around in February.
And the other part of that is the city of Griffin built 2 large of dryer ovens, and now they need some more material. So there's a lot of paths here. We just gotta figure out which one's gonna be the best.
So, finishing up the project report, so the water model effort is done. We're waiting on the final report. And the water rate study, the options have been provided to y'all, and y'all will be voting on the option y'all wanna do, and then we will wrap up that report. So, 2024 has been a pretty, good year for the water authority, I would say. For productivity.
I move we accept the general manager report.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I don't hear any. All in favor, raise your hand, please. All opposed? 8-0. Special committee report, joint planning finance committee report.
Clay's gonna do.
Thank you. On December 11th, 2024, the Planning and Finance Committee held a joint meeting to discuss the following: a presentation by Joe and Joshua on the water rate analysis by Raftillis, and we're going to the Finance Committee will make a recommendation once we get to that part of option 3. Second part was a discussion on developing a safety award bonus discussion. We've got some more work to do, but we started that whole process off and started getting ideas and things that we could do with that. The last part was a executive session, which will carry over till today, and we'll do an executive session on that. That concludes my report.
Does anybody have any questions for the planning and finance committee? Sam, I think everybody was there.
Yeah.
Moving on to new business, consider approval of a water rate option as presented by Raftillis.
Chairman, I don't know if we have an official
Can we put the options up on the screen?
option or not.
Yeah, let's do.
I have my personal preference.
Does anybody have any questions about the options?
Joseph, just
You wanna recap it?
publicly go over them real quick, please.
So, all 3 options move from a one-size-fits-all approach today, where regardless of what type of customer class you are, you pay the same fee on a volume with the same base rate and the same tier structure. What we did is we went to a more equitable approach where it's now going to be based on customer class. There is a base rate that is going to be paid based on size of meter, and the each rate gives a little bit depending on each rate gives a residential volumetric component inside the base rate to help out the single families and the single income or the low water users, basically. So option 1 is a little bit of reduction in the residential. Option 3, if you wanted to know my opinion, I think that is the best one that gives the relief to our residential customer base that has been subsidizing commercial and industrial growth over the years, while ensuring that our industrial rate is not so burdensome that we're stifling development.
I agree. I've long said that the single person household, the widower that uses 1,000 gallons or so a month got really hammered with that base rate. And option 3, to me, works out, I think is very fair.
It took me all of about 2 minutes to decide option 3 is the best
I
for us.
can't hear you.
It took me about 3 minutes to decide. Option 3 is the best for our ratepayers as well as future industrial users, and it's the most equitable.
Agreed.
So I would make a motion that we adopt option 3.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just one point for the public. all of us here looked at this and have had a week opportunity, so this isn't the first time we've looked at it. We've had a week to go over it and go through it in some detail.
Joseph's preference, I believe, is option 3.
Correct.
I would like to say that, I believe option 3 is in line with the AWWA's findings on what the standard is for billing for this type of thing. I don't know if you read that article, in the AWWA publication. but
Correct.
Everybody is leaning towards this type
Yeah.
of structure, billing structure.
And I'm pretty sure Raftelis, being the people who do rate models for just about everybody in the southeast, probably everybody in the southeast is using this model.
Gold standard, they're the gold standard.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I will defer to staff. I mean, I see the numbers, I don't understand the methodology clearly. I mean, I kinda do, but yeah, I think that if we're able to, decrease the burden on the payer, that's a wonderful thing, and still be able to fund our operation.
Well, we're lowering the cost for roughly 34% of the customers. And it's actually more than that. It's going to have a lower rate, but the big thing is we get our meter fee money is more in line with the rest of the country. Because before, I'm not sure where that number even come from, to be honest with you. And it also gives us a comparable industrial rate to the city of Griffin. It makes us competitive with that industrial rate, so that's going to give us some more flexibility in the future. If there's not any further discussion, we got a motion and a second to approve option 3 of the Raftelis water rate study. All right, all in favor? All opposed? I have this on here
Well,
twice. Why is this on here twice?
Kinda like the moon, this is a giant leap forward for mankind, in my opinion.
So we're good.
I
we're good with this,
absolutely
right?
agree. This was a huge step that's taken us a long time to get to.
This has been.
So
this
that we
has been-
have definitive data that we can sit down and if somebody asks us stuff, we have a way of defining it specifically.
And when we get our new rates from the city,
January?
Nope, they should be coming this week.
we can going forward, we can plug them into this model and see how, it's our model now,
When will this begin?
So preemptively to get ready for this new rate structure change, we reached out to the city. There's gonna be some customer cleanup that we're gonna have to do on our end. We've gotten the master list of locations. Chris and his team are actually working on incorporating in GIS. We're gonna look at zonings. We're gonna have to put all the customers in the right buckets because depending on what bucket you're in is gonna dictate what your rate's gonna be. So we wanna make sure we get it done. Looking at this, we may be ready to roll this new rate structure out. I would think at the earliest March 1. I don't know. The city's working with Cogsdale, their billing provider, to figure out what type of testing they're going to have to do to make sure that everything is lining up appropriately. But based on my understanding of what the city's rate is actually going to do, we're not going to be behind the 8 ball while we're waiting to implement this. We'll be whole.
We need a motion to initiate an effective date.
I think you need more information. Let me.
Yeah,
We're working through the particulars. Right now, the March 1 timeline is just it's back of the napkin based on my gut, what it's telling me. Our team's done a really good job of geolocating these addresses in a quick amount of time. I just don't know how fast the city's going to be able to modify their customer base database based on our new needs.
We gotta test it. We're gonna test it.
Yes.
Right?
Well, this has been standing in my eye for years. I'm so glad to get relief.
Yeah. I think let's shoot for March 1st. We'll know more in January. Right?
I'll know more in
We'll
January.
know more in January. We'll put it back on the agenda and make sure everybody's up to speed on when we're gonna implement it.
Great work.
Moving on to other business, The next regular scheduled meeting will be held on Wednesday, January 15th at 8:30 a.m. in the Courthouse Annex Meeting Room. And in case you are unaware of where that is, that's where we are at right now. Secretary Treasurer comments.
None.
General Manager comments.
I just want to take this time. I don't think what we've been able to accomplish this year would have been, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without the staff that we have. I just would personally like to thank everybody that works here. It truly is it's a pleasure to work with these people every day, and I couldn't do it without them. So I just want to say thank you to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas too.
We're gonna roll with the authority member comments. Ms. Fanny?
I'd just like to say, thanks to everybody, Joseph and the staff who've done a phenomenal job for us this year. I've been on this board for several years and I have not seen this kind of professionalism since I've been here, so thank you very much. And have a good year next year.
Al?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Same to you. Clay?
For the Finance Committee, plan on 8 January. We may be able to cancel it out, but put it on your calendar for Finance Committee meeting. Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays. Good job. Thank you all.
9 o'clock as usual.
Yes,
9.
9 o'clock, usual time. I just, easier to put it on right now, take it off, than us try to gin something up as we get further on some of these things we've already started talking about.
Wanda?
It's right, we're making good progress. I'm proud of it.
Jeff?
I'd like to echo Ms. Delaney's comments and just add that I think it's been a very productive year, and I'm looking forward to another one next year. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays.
William?
I would just like to say I did have some time to think about the safety bonus, and it makes so much sense if it will incentivize everybody to be able to watch each other and be safe. I don't need to say anything else. My expectations have been met, and I'm really proud of this group of people. I serve on a lot of committees, but this group gets some work done.
I'm gonna recap that in just a second. Nick?
I'm amen to what Ren just said, and Ms. Delaney, I do think we are less informed than we need to be of all the wonderful things you do. We know you're doing all these wonderful things, but I think your department, these fine folks, need a little better thank you by, this is what y'all have done. You've been trying to keep track of that, I think. There's so many things you're doing, and I'd like to have a little better list, so I really appreciate it. So, but Merry Christmas, everybody. It's been a great year.
I have
A water authority, not for me.
Rada,
Still here, ain't you?
one of the things that we are trying to get done is the trust indentured. And on Monday, the Board of Commissioners approved us sending a letter of resignation from the trust indentured, and that should go out in the next day or so. Wade and Gwen, I just want to make sure it's on the record that we got it.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna run through a list of our accomplishments this year real quick.
You're gonna do that, huh?
Yes, I am. Under infrastructure and construction, this year we moved into a new office space, which we have quickly almost filled. We've completed the Flint River Bridge water main relocation project. We've purchased the future wastewater plant site. In addition to that site, we also purchased another 50 some odd acres for a future wastewater pump station, some sort of treatment facility for the 1941 corridor. We are still acquiring easements, and I believe we are about to close on the influent pump station site for the 16 corridor wastewater treatment plant. We've completed the preliminary lead service line inventory. We also conducted over 350 surveys for the fiscal year 25 community development block grant application. We still have some more work to do on that, but we've made a lot of progress on it. Under operations and compliance, we successfully passed the EPD sanitary survey. We renewed the water distribution operation permit, and we recalibrated the water hydraulic model for the entire distribution system. We completed maintenance on 3,200 fire hydrants. We deployed mission controller telemetry units so that we can actually monitor our tanks now for all 4 water tanks. And we developed and implemented a valve exercising program for, I'm not sure how many valves are actually in this system.
Right now, I think there's over 5,000, but we're finding new ones all the time.
So once we locate them all, we're gonna make sure they actually open and close. Under financial, we sold the Old Springs, industry plant site this year. We secured a $400,000 GFA grant for the lead and copper compliance, and we obligated the $3 million in ARPA funds before the 12/31/2024 deadline. We developed short and long-term water system capital improvement projects. We developed a water rate model, which we just voted on. We updated the water tap fee schedule and implemented a plan review of the fee schedules. We completed an asset management plan this year. We executed the intergovernmental service agreement for administrative support with Spalding County, and we also developed and executed a memorandum of understanding with Spalding County for infrastructure planning. And I just hit the wrong button. There we go. Do it again. As far as staffing and the growth of the organization overall, we've hired a 3rd utility maintenance technician for succession planning, and we launched our own GIS department. We recruited a manager and an analyst. They may or may not be here. Oh yeah, they're over there. And we also developed and executed the telecommuting policy here in the last month or so. In addition to all that, we have launched our own website. And we are in the process of making sure everybody knows that website exists. And we even have our own SCWA.org US email addresses now. And I'll just leave out everything with the sewer plant, progressive design build. I don't want to brag or anything, but that's what the Water Authority has accomplished this year.
Well, that was a list I didn't know you had. That's awesome.
Honey, it make my wrist hurt just from writing all that.
I can email it to you.
Awesome.
And we summarized the GIS with just staffing it, but I've told Chris and Matthew both, I'm not trying to put them on the spot, but I do want to showcase their work to you guys, just where y'all can see where it's not a department that we're spending money on, that we're not getting any fruitful conversation. I don't want to, I'm thinking first quarter of next year, they're going to be ready to fully show you exactly everything that they've done. But I can tell you, Danny and the field guys have never been more empowered with the information at their fingertips than they have since Matthew and Chris came on.
What's really impressive is Charlie accomplished all that while she had to babysit Joseph. Oh, that's gonna. Now that I got my last jab in for the year. That's gonna wrap up the authority member comments.
Mr. Chairman,
We
I
need-
move that we go into executive sessions for the purposes as provided on our agenda.
Got a motion, second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? I need to gavel this one, right? We're in executive session.
So shall it be done. So shall it be gavelled, right?
Always good to stand up again.
I drove with a couple of weeks ago. And it seems to me that there's nothing but rental property there and distressed housing.
Yes, and we're gonna be supplementing some landowners.
Yeah.
People who making monies off of.
Fanny, how you doing? I'm doing. Good. You look like you just came and stepped off the cruise boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish that. Okay, good.
sleigh.
Yeah.
I thought I could rewrite that song and,
Or one more Chevrolet or something?
yeah, and make it Chevrolet.
That sounds good.
So, one horse open sleigh.
Well, my dad always thought that, Donna Shore thing was the best advertising they ever had, you know, City USA in your Chevy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think one horse sleigh could be replaced by Chevrolet. for the
exactly.
song.
But when you mention that to the current advertising people, they're like, oh, that's so, you know, passe and so old fashioned, so it's not.
Well, that'd be my,
Exactly. His
Christmas
too.
song at your,
Oh, yeah.
at your building if I was in.
He would definitely agree with you, yeah.
Well, I'm so proud of you to see you with a regular shoe on your foot.
How's your foot? Everything good?
Thought we was gonna have to change your name to Clubfoot.
I know it. I've had 2 rounds of it about.
Yeah, listen.
Well, I had a broken ankle about 2 years
Mr.
ago. I was
Chairman.
in a boot for a while, and then I did some.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
Thank you,
we
sir.
come out of closed session and resume open session.
I second that motion.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous?
Chairman, I move that we increase our general manager's salary to $155,000 per year as we've agreed to.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Did he make all of that into one motion?
No, no.
No, just one.
Just the one.
Just
The
this,
first
this is the one,
General manager.
this is to raise the salary to $155,000. We got a motion
year.
and a second. All in favor? All opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Effective date?
Effective date,
I'm not sure what the payroll cycle is. I'd say next payroll cycle. I just don't know when that is. Do you know?
Effective date January 1?
Good with that, Joseph?
okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appropriate $5,000 for bonuses on our general manager's initiative, what he chooses for our employees,
For the staff.
for the staff. I mumbled my way through that one, but
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous?
Chairman, I move we adjourn with a Merry Christmas to all.
Got a
I
motion?
second with a Merry Christmas song.
We got a second? All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned.
Everybody be safe.
Merry Christmas to
Get
all.
ready to come back here and do some more work
I
in
know.
sanctuary.
1 year.